Heavyweight fight featuring Trevor Berbick with a record of 22-1 against unbeaten Greg Page, 19-0. Berbick, strongly built young man, lives in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Came into fistic prominence by knocking out the hugely hyped Big John Tate. From Louisville, Kentucky, there's Greg Page. As a young amateur, had the look of another Muhammad Ali, hasn't stood up to that early look as a pro. In his dressing room now, Gerry Cooney, showing the same easygoing composure that he has shown ever since he got here to Las Vegas, Nevada. Looking forward to facing this man, a solid heavyweight champion of the world, 39-0. Larry Holmes getting ready. This fight begins. Note the quickness of Page's left, even though Berbick, keeping his distance well, caused a miss of both. Berbick getting his jab in, but lightly. Page, the red trunks, Berbick, the white. Things just underway, 40 seconds, first round. Good left and right combination by Page. Page knows how to use the head to slip punches, not with the skills of a Wilfred Benitez or a Muhammad Ali. Good left, short, snapping left by Berbick to that Page head. Not an easy fighter to hit defensively, Berbick. Peculiar stance, angles the body, diminishes the amount of body target for the opponent to get to. Referee is Carlos Padilla. And a refereed the thriller in Manila. And then the first Leonard Duran bouts, where Padilla became a figure of controversy. Three judges will be scoring the fight. Berbick caught Page, and he shakes his head with a good right. We have 50 seconds left in round one. And Berbick has the look of an interesting fighter. At this point in time, and it's early, a good left by Berbick. He's catching Page frequently. Berbick outboxing Page in this first round, in my view. Good left there by Page. Good right by Page to the face, and then a good left to the body. May be an interesting fight. All right, let's go to Bob Sheridan.
All right, Howard, with me is Sam Glass. Sam, you're the co-promoter of this. This has got to be an unbelievable night for you.
It certainly is. It's a dream come true.
Well, what's it like now? Tell us from your side. We know the money's there and all of that sort of thing, but the enthusiasm has overshadowed that at this point.
It's very true. Now we're just waiting for the main event.
Well, Sam Glass, now let's go back over to Howard Cosell.
All right, Robert. A round card girl makes her dutiful journey around the four corners of the ring, part of the accoutrements, Las Vegas, Nevada. Meantime, second round action coming up. Padilla over Page's corner. Page being wiped off by his handlers. And there is just Sam Solomon to take care of Trevor Berbick. The bell for round two.
interesting first round. Page rallied in the late seconds, but Berbick was ahead of him during much of the first round, scoring well on at least 3 occasions. Good quick left by Page, followed by a good quick right. Look at Berbick. Down a punch to the Page midsection, and Page felt it. Page with a right lead. Berbick fights right back. This kid Berbick's got some stuff. He is hurting Page. Out comes Page's mouthpiece. Carlos Padilla made no attempt to move in when Page was halfway to the floor on the ropes. And Trevor Berbick is putting on some display. Wow. Now Page is out of there, shaking his head, his eyes a little glassy, glazed. Trevor Berbick surprising everybody here. Beautifully built guy, too. Started with a superb counter-punching barrage to the belly. And he whipped Page across the ring to the corner. Page's corner, as a matter of fact. Page appeared to have gone down. But he never reached the floor. Padilla never interceded. We have a minute to go in round 2. Caution from Padilla to Berbick. Berbick is talking to Page, complaining about thumbing in the eye. Time doesn't permit us at this moment to talk about thumbs in the eye, but there's a kid sitting down the aisle from me right now named Ray Leonard. And he'll tell you about fighters' eyes and retinal surgery. 25 seconds left. And earlier we saw Ernie Shavers defeated by Jim Quick Dillis. I don't think for a fact that Shavers should be allowed to fight anymore. I'm worried about his eye. Floyd Patterson makes a good argument for the thumbless glove. End of the round at hand. Perfect round. All right, let's take a look at what Berbick did to Page in that second round. There's a good left that hurt Page. Back he went. Now there's Page beginning to go down. Was it a slip or was it the punches? And while down, his hands at his sides, Berbick simply had target practice against the opponent. Then up. Somehow Page got out of that corner. But another angle on that. Page was getting a savage beating there. This only the second round. But he survived. And we'll see what his recuperative powers are when the third round starts. Berbick coming out of his corner, being sent back by Padilla to await the bell, and there it is.
Watch your tongue, Greg. Watch your tongue. That's it.
Page wants to get in to Berbick. Every time he does, he pays a price for it. Look at Berbick with that left to the belly. Remember I said Berbick angles his body. He's constantly facing you what appears to be sideways. So there is not a target there of the normal size to hit at. Very interesting, unorthodox stance. So little notice was taken of him on that June 20th, 1980 fight against Big John Tate. Tate had turned and run for his life with suddenness. And it was the same way to see a fight end. Nobody gave Berbick a lot of credit. But you this, Page has grown wary. He's moving steadily on his toes, and he's trying to stay out of Berbick's range now. His problem, how to get to that furious sidewise target. This is third round action that has slowed noticeably from the pace of the second round when Page almost went down. Page fought with a right. Berbick had the head moving away from it, and the effect was only a grazing blow. Counting down to the end of round 3. I'll tell you something, the passing years do nothing to diminish her appeal. Lola Falana. She'll be singing the national anthem later tonight. Just a beautiful girl and a beautiful performer. She was huddling marvelous down at Jupiter, Florida, into the Cooney dressing room at Jupiter, Florida, when she was doing a Burt Reynolds movie.
If I tell you to break, I want you to stop punching. I want you to step back. I don't want to have to push you. I don't want to have to wrestle you. If I do, I'm not going to warn you but one time. Okay? I'm not going to send you some single warning. But you know what? Not going to push you. Okay.
Did not say specifically he'll only warn one time.
All right, that was Mills Lane who'll be refereeing the main event, giving instructions in Cooney's dressing room. We've just begun round 4. Berbick against Page. Berbick, white trunks. Page, red trunks. Berbick, surprising performer thus far. Page scoring more in this round with his long left. Problem is he delivers the left going away, and it's without real power behind it, or so it seems. Caught again with it. This is fourth round action. Since being almost floored in round 2, Page has changed his style. He's grown wary, kept his distance, boxing, as you just saw. Berbick out of reach. Greg moving backwards, keeps bobbing his head. Did not get through Berbick's defenses that time. From the distance where Page is throwing those left, he can't get power behind him. Then when he goes inside, he faces the risk of what happened to him in round 2. Berbick unleashed a furious counter-punching sally to the belly, and boxed him across the ring into the corner, and then just delivered about 12 unanswered blows and almost put Page down. Berbick works that stomach well. Got in a good left hook. Page hurt by a sharp right. It was against the ropes, and you could see the eyes. Trade the hurt. Look at Berbick work over the middle in that infight. Came in with an uppercut that you may not have been able to see, but he's gone with it. All right, let's look at some of that action. Replay. Now watch closely for the Berbick right. That was a left, and that was the right, and then the left again. Good flurry. Never had a dinner. Not for Red Button, but that's his line at every roast. Remarkable performer. Once an Oscar winner. Thank you, Red. Red was so great at the Cary Grant in New York about a month ago, Chris. Never saw him better. All right. Waiting for round 5, and that, my friends, is the gentleman from Halifax, Nova Scotia, named Trevor Berbick, fighting himself a very efficient fight. Second round, and again in the 4th round. He had Page in apparently serious trouble in the second round, though no knockdown was recorded. In the 4th round, he had Page hurt, though the hurt was a very brief duration. Now round 5. Carlos Padilla, the referee, very well known for a variety of reasons. 3 judges score the fight. The referee, no voice in it. This, of course, is scheduled 10 rounds. Page almost lost his mouthpiece for the second time. It went out in the second round, you'll remember. Got Page in the corner, exactly where he had him in the second round. And again, Page almost lost his mouthpiece. Had to push it back in with his left glove. But Page in the corner really takes the punishment from Berbick, who obviously knows how to work an opponent against the rope and how he can work to the midsection. Well, the accumulative impact upon an opponent is, of course, debilitating. Page has not been living up to anything like his early potential in his recent outings. Witness the Jimmy Young affair, the Chaplin affair. Don't do that, Carlos Padilla cautions Page. Page apologizes, but he spun Berbick around, and his tactic was clearly illegal. So we are approaching the end of round 5, and Mr. Berbick is acquitting himself nobly. That's Harry Wall, the president of Caesar's Palace, enjoying the evening, and why not? picks up a lot of loot. Farrah Fawcett and Ryan O'Neal. They too were at the recent Gary Grant dinner. She remains lastingly beautiful, doesn't she? All right, we go back to the ring. I'm not sure, but we might have been wiser to have stayed with Farrah. However, we await the start of round 6. And Greg Page is, he's learning. As Mickey Mantle was wont to say in the old commercial, I'm learning. Sam Solomon telling Trevor Berbick what to do. They come out for round 6. Berbick really fights furiously when he has Page pinned against the ropes. Look at this. What's happening to Page against the ropes is in no sense to be likened to Ali in Zaire as he introduced the now famous rope. Sixth round action again, with Berbick dominating Page, as you saw. Still another flurry with Page on the ropes. But Page has not yet been able to figure out a way to get to Berbick. With that body positioned in an angular way, by the time Page is flicking left, gets to the other fighter, there's nothing left in the punch. So he must seek to get inside and do some damage. And when he's tried to do that, Berbick has counterpunched magnificently, especially to the midsection. So the tactics employed by Berbick and the strategy are, I think, working for him. Well, one of those lefts got in nicely for Page. We have 45 seconds left in the 6th round. After that early Berbick flurry, this has become a better round for Page. Scoring better than he has in a few of the earlier ones. Seconds left. 6th round. End of the 6th.
The John King Sports and Entertainment Network is taking off like a rocket with exciting monthly fights live on cable TV. On July 21st, Salvador Sanchez versus Mario Miranda for the WBC Featherweight Championship of the World. Live from Madison Square Garden. Don't miss the knockout entertainment. Month after month after month. Brought to you exclusively by the Don King.
So the 7th round, and all the signs of the 6th were that Berbick was finding finding trouble keeping going. Page's corner won't have been slow to notice that. Their man might be getting the instructions very shortly to start coming the other way. He's been picked up with that left hand over and over again, and the left's beginning to look more and more wicked as it bites into Berbick's face. And then the little short right as well. Page beginning to come into it. One low one there. That was the left hand from Page. He has a reputation of being a lazy fighter. He's taken a long time to get going in this one. Berbick now, very stiff-legged, hardly coming forward at all. And Page still dancing in circles around this ring, picking his man off with the left, slinging the occasional right, almost as though he's taunting Berbick to come to him. And Berbick doesn't seem able to anymore. So the balance of this fight slowly but surely shifting. Not in this man's favour, but in Page's favour. Three rounds to go now. And Berbick, who put it all into the first five now, seems to have come almost to a standstill. And Page still hasn't moved into top gear. Page in red. Berbick wiping his face on his gloves, looking at his gloves to see if there's blood. I don't think there is. Page has tried to box this at long range from the start and tried to do it from the retreat. An old-fashioned style which didn't pay many dividends in the early rounds, And Berbick's found new life again. The way Berbick's been looking in the last few rounds, he's squandering energy again here. I wonder how much he'll have left after this lot. He breathes hard again. Page shakes his head and says something to him. There were the alleged thumbing incidents early in this fight, which made Berbick very angry, and there's no love lost between them now either. Berbick again has to eat the left hand. He seems now to have about one good attack per round left in him. Well, Berbick ends it by putting in a big attack. He could still win this. Joe DiMaggio, the old former baseball star, once married to the late Marilyn Monroe. One of the greatest names in American baseball. So we're getting close to the climax of this fight now. All Berbick in the early stages. Page has forced his way back as Berbick is tired. Page in the red trunks, ranked the number 3 contender by the WBC. Berbick, the number 4 contender for Larry Holmes' title. Berbick looking a little livelier than he did a couple of rounds back. Seems to have got a second wind. Page still maintaining this rather stolid rhythm. Strange fight by Page. He's never looked really confident. Never been prepared to chance his arm and have an all-out attack. His great rival, of course, is Mike Dokes, the other young unbeaten American heavyweight. They met as amateurs. Dokes won, and they will undoubtedly meet again as pros very shortly, I would imagine. Mike Dokes is ranked number 2. Well, now, can Berbick take this decision? If he does, of course, it'll be a tremendous setback for Page, who really has been regarded here as the up-and-coming young heavyweight star. But he's looked anything but impressive in this fight. And he's still undergoing some rather heavy attacks as we come towards the end of this fight. One more round to go after this. Berbick in the white shorts. 5 years older at 28. And so unless we have something extraordinary in the last round, this is going to the judges to decide. A little bit of the action again from the ninth. Berbick again moving in, catching his man with the left and a very good following right hand. Jack Nicholson, the movie actor. This ringside studded with celebrities. Well, Page has never looked happy in this fight, and he's never come out of his shell, never set up a really firm attack. Let's see what he can do in the 10th and final round. '23-year-old unbeaten Greg Page from Louisville, Kentucky, wearing the red trunks. 19 wins in 19 fights against the 28-year-old Trevor Berbick, born in Jamaica, now fighting out of Canada, the Canadian and Commonwealth heavyweight champion. A 1-2 from Page, which seemed to disconcert Berbick. Now then, has Page saved something dramatic for the final 3 minutes? Page's gum shield is out. Well, Page started this last round as though he might produce something dramatic, but now he's gone back to the old familiar dancing on retreat and leaving it to Berbick to make the attacks. And that's been very much the pattern of the fight all the way through. Could be a very close decision. As the seconds tick out, so the left hand ticks into the face of Berbick. And the judges must decide that one. That was an important heavyweight fight between the number 3 and number 4 contenders. At one time, Page looked as though he might get beaten, then came back into the fight, and we may have a very close decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a unanimous decision. Judge Dwayne Ford scores 98-92. Judge Dave Moretti scores 98-92. And Judge Jerry Ross scores 96-94 for the winner by unanimous decision, Trevor Berbick.
Well, Berbick, far from having a close decision, all three judges have gone for him in a big way. So that's a little bit of an upset in the world heavyweight rankings. Trevor Berbick, 28 years old, who took home the distance in a fight last year for the championship, has beaten the number 3 contender, Greg Page. Page's first defeat as a professional in his 20th fight. And that's a major win there for Trevor Berbick, who, if he can keep that sort of form up, might find himself back in the ring again as a heavyweight championship contender. But for Page, nothing but misery.
Scene of the great panorama here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The ring shortly to house the measures Holmes and Cooney. But with me now, Trevor Berbick. Trevor, first, congratulations on a very well-planned and executed fight. And B, a major step for you toward a potential title shot again. How do you view it?
Yes, I think it is a good stepping stone to get in the number 1 position, because you see, I think that I have been overlooked and bypassed so many times. First, I was the underdog to fighting John Tate in Montreal. I beat him and knocked him out. He was ranked number 1 in both divisions then. They turned around and put me number 5. Why when I defeated number 1 contender? Then I go ahead and I have 6 more wins. I fought Larry Holmes, won 15 rounds. They dropped me 1-6. I had 5 more knockouts. They turned around and still put me number 4. When all these guys are being pushed up.
All right, so what you want is the winner of tonight's main event.
Well, the way it is in boxing, even though you're number 1 sometime, it may not, so you may have to wait. But at least I know once I'm number 1, I will have a compulsory monetary defense, and they will have to fight me within 6 months or so. So all I have to do then is to keep busy and have some good fights and wait. If that is the case, I will wait. But I would rather take on the winner of this fight if they will oblige me, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Congratulations to you. Good to have you, and you are an excellent defensive fighter, and you know how to work an opponent to the belly.
I'm trying. I'm learning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. Come on over here, Greg. Well, first, Greg, I know that tonight was a terrible disappointment for you. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you say to your handlers, I've been sick for 3 days? That's what was wrong with you?
I dropped down from my training. I dropped from 235, 228, and they came down to 221. you know, that's nothing. All great fighters don't have any excuse. Tonight was his night. He did exceptionally well, and I tried too hard. You know, I wanted to outdo Holmes and Cooney so bad, and things are moving too fast for me. And I see now that I'm gonna have to wait and take my time. Because a whole lot of things, like tonight when I was fighting Berbick, there's no way in the world I should have missed like that.
Well, it seemed to me your timing was bad. Your distance was bad. The power was spent in the blow by the time the blow arrived.
Well, it was like this. I had my mind on hitting him, stopping him, doing exceptionally well. So then I can outdo Holmes and Cooney. So then everybody can say he is ready for a championship fight. But I feel like this. I fought a fight. You know, all the mistakes I made. You know, I know what I made. Like lay on the ropes. That's why I lost the fight. Lay on the ropes, letting him drill in with the body shots. The other shots he wasn't scoring because my jab was out.
The body shots were the.
Those were the shots that were scoring.
Right. I'm going to have to break in on you, Greg, because we're about to have Miss Lola Falana sing our national anthem. I know your disappointment.
Well, it's like this. I'm not disappointed. The only thing it is, I'm gonna go back to the gym and work exceptionally harder, and then the next time it'll be a better show. Next time I will really outdo Trevor Berbick.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.